Hello, Max Wright here from Success Council, and we're going to continue with our rebuttal of Peter Schiff's opinion of Bitcoin. So we're going to get to his primary point here, and I'm going to elaborate on his point first, if I may. So his primary point was that contrary to gold, which has intrinsic value, people want gold for jewelry's sake. He said Bitcoin doesn't have any intrinsic value. You can't do anything with a Bitcoin. And so people are just speculating on hoping that it will be money. And eventually the bubble's going to burst, and people are going to realize that people don't actually want Bitcoin. So what Peter's saying here, he's talking about something called regression theorem, which is out of the Austrian School of Economics. And regression theorem basically it comes from this point of view. It said that why would a merchant accept payment for their goods or service in some form of money? Let's say gold. Why are they accepting payment in gold today? And the answer is that they perceive that they can use this gold tomorrow to buy something else. What they're saying is that this gold, they're expecting the gold to have purchasing power tomorrow, so I'm willing to accept it as payment today. Now, why do they expect it to have purchasing power tomorrow? The reason is because it had purchasing power yesterday. Okay, let's regress. Let's go back one step. Yesterday, why did they accept it? Well, it had purchasing power the day before, so we assume that it'll have purchasing power tomorrow, so we accepted it then. Okay, let's go back another day, regress another day. You regress all the way back to originally. The thing had purchasing power because it had intrinsic value. So that's what regression theorem is. The end result of a regression theorem is that something must first be a commodity. It must be valuable and useful in and of itself, and only then will it be accepted as payment. And if it meets all the other conditions of being money, fungible, divisible, and all those other good things, if it meets those properties, then it can also be money. But it must be a commodity first, or it will not pass regression theorem. And there's no reason for the process to begin and ever long-term hold value that this thing will be wanted and perceived. That's regression theorem. That is Peter Schiff's primary point, as I understood it from his statement. Now, to me, there are four possible outcomes from this statement. Option one is regression theorem is wrong. In option one, something is so good and so amazing and so brilliant at being money that it can just be money without satisfying regression theorem. It doesn't have to have any other commodity value. It's just so good and so valuable as money that people want it and they want to use it as money. The regression theorem is wrong, option one. Option two, regression theorem is correct, and Bitcoin fails the test now and in the future of ever being useful in and of itself. And it has no intrinsic value, and one day when the bubble pops, it will return to its intrinsic value of 0. That's option two. Option three is regression theorem is valid, and Bitcoin has intrinsic value right now. It performs things that nobody else can, that nothing else can, outside of the monetary universe, and has intrinsic value today to some people. Option four is that regression theorem is valid, and Bitcoin does not have value today, but perhaps it may have commodity value in the future. That is, it may have intrinsic value in the future in and of itself. So I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I want to talk about this last one especially, because in the last video I just used the example of a comet hitting Earth. Magic fairy dust was the makeup of this comet, and 10 years after the comet lands, people analyze what's in there, and they figure out that this is the fuel to a perpetual energy machine, and it becomes incredibly valuable. So there's a 10-year period where the magic fairy dust was completely useless, but afterwards it became very valuable and eventually money. So when someone says that, so let's talk about Bitcoin. Actually, let's talk about cryptocurrencies more than Bitcoin. The technological leap that is the blockchain and the mechanism by which the ledger is kept is just a tremendous technological leap. It is a brilliant contribution to mathematics and a whole bunch of other things. It's mind-blowing. It really is. And the things that you can use this blockchain for is incredible. Its primary use, in my opinion, is it takes away the need for trust in anything. So let's say I hold title to a piece of land. I would register that land at the deeds like a deed office, like the government-run deed office. They're called different things in different countries, and it would register that I own this piece of land. Well, something a lot of people don't know is the blockchain can contain information like, I have this piece of land. Now, with the government-run solution, I have to trust that the bureaucrat behind the desk doesn't fiddle in it and change it to his aunt, Maureen's name, that my piece of land is owned by his aunt Maureen. I have to trust that the government doesn't just confiscate it as a wealth tax. There's all this trust involved. With all these different entities, right? What the blockchain does is eliminate all need of trust. It's open, public, permanent ledger that can't be changed, can't be altered by anyone without the key. I have the key that says I own the piece of land, for example, if blockchain was to be used that way. Then no one else can change that except me. And it becomes a trustless ledger of a piece of information, like who owns certain parcels of land. That's what a blockchain could store. Now, right now, it's storing money, but it could. We have no clue what this blockchain technology will be used to store in the future, and the possibilities are endless. So you can perform contracts with the blockchain. You can say, okay, let's party A and party B put in some bitcoins into this blockchain, into this wallet, and the rules of that wallet are that upon some certain condition, then pay A, if not pay B. For example, it could be like a death insurance. And so the blockchain could actually you could write contracts in blockchain form where the death certificate is checked against public records and you can then pay that out. Now, I know this is all really weird, but Bitcoin is not really doing that now, but that's because we're so early in the technology. We don't know what it's going to be used for. For someone to say that they are so confident that this brand new revolutionary technology has no value today and will have no value in the future is just mind-blowing arrogance for me. And I'm not saying Peter Schiff is necessarily arrogant. He just might not have considered this point. But once this has been exposed to you, that, hang on a minute, who knows what this will become? Who knows what this will morph into? Who knows what the Bitcoin protocol will change into, because it can be updated and changed, certain aspects of it. To say that it will have no value ever in the future, to me is just absolutely insane. You can't possibly make that prediction. And so, as a value proposition to a potential investor now, I think if Bitcoin satisfies regression theorem, and if it becomes a useful commodity for some reason or another, either in the execution of wills, or the registering of land titles, or any other of millions of things that I can't possibly even think of, once it satisfies regression theorem, Peter Schiff basically agreed that it has some superior qualities to gold as money, and has a number of really, really fantastic qualities as money. So if it satisfies regression theorem, I'm guessing from what he's saying, and certainly in my opinion, that it almost certainly will be used as money. So to say that it will never have commodity value just seems to make no sense to me, that an intellectual could seriously make that prediction. And so as a value proposition to a potential investor today, if it becomes money, then the 21 million coins that is the potential pool of Bitcoins is certainly not enough to go around the 7 billion people in the world to use for pretty much anything that it could possibly be invented for. So therefore, Bitcoin will become worth $100,000 worth per Bitcoin, or $1 million worth per Bitcoin. Or it will go to zero. It will fail regression theorem, it'll be useless, and it won't be money, it'll go to zero. Or it does satisfy regression theorem, and it will go to something very, very high. So now you've got to make a kind of judgment in, well, what's the possibility? So if I made a bet with you, I said, here's a dice. You can roll a dice, and if a 6 comes up, I'll pay you 1,000 to 1 bet. You can bet any amount you want. Well, how much would you bet? You would probably bet a reasonable, some amount of money, but money that you can afford to lose, because it's a great bet, but it's a low probability that you'll win. So even in the worst case scenario, I think for a Bitcoin investor, you have the potential to, right now we're at $1,000 Bitcoin price. If it satisfies regression theorem, if it becomes money, it could have a price of $1 million per Bitcoin, right? Could go to zero. But you could throw in a couple of bucks, and if it gets to be $1 million, awesome, you've killed it. you got paid 1,000 to 1 for something that I don't know, you have to decide what's the potential that it could become useful at some stage, if you think it's not useful now. So it could be a very, very good investment, even if Peter Schiff is right at this particular moment. Now, that was all in option 4. Regression theorem is true. Bitcoin has no use now, but it may have use in the future. But there is another significant thing here, which I think Bitcoin has significant use right now. We don't have to wait for some mystical future thing to take place. So let's imagine you're in North Korea and you really want to get your hands on and read a Bible. Well, tough luck, Bibles are illegal in North Korea. So your only chance really is to jump on the dark web and go to like a Silk Road Take-Two type site to get your hands on a Bible. Now, your problem, the only thing that they can accept is cryptocurrencies. Why is that? Well, it's the only form of payment that they could accept, because you can't accept a Visa, MasterCard, or any kind of thing through the banking system, or anything that government could possibly get its hands on. Only a trustless, no third-party currency like cryptocurrency can possibly be accepted in this environment. Let's look at the field of remittance, so things like money transfers internationally. So if you want to transfer money internationally, instantly, anonymously, there's simply no other way to do it without cryptocurrencies. Now, even if you wanted to give up your anonymity, it's still incredibly expensive to do it via traditional means. So let's say you're Western Union. You have to do it, you can't trust third parties with any kind of business in this nature. So you have to have an office in the destination, you have to have a staff member at the destination, you have to have systems to control the flow, you have to have an office and staff member and systems at the city of origin for the funds. All of this is very, very expensive. So these two examples, only Bitcoin solves these problems, only cryptocurrencies solves these problems. So I don't know how to categorize this, but either regression theorem is false and there exists a money that is so fabulous, so perfect, so wonderful that regression theorem is not valid, or there's this, because of this new technology in our new digital age, there's this new asset class, this new commodity class, which would be, I don't know, remittance proof of work, or some form of payment protocol asset class that you need cryptocurrencies to participate in. I don't know which one of those two forms it is, but only Bitcoin can perform these services, and there is a tremendous demand for these services. 50% of the global economy is black or grey markets. These markets love Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for their anonymity and their no third-party transactions, no third-party involvement, trustless transactions. So I'm not quite sure which category this goes in, but in my opinion, Bitcoin has commodity value now, and as such satisfies regression theorem, and as such will be a serious money contender for many, many decades to come, unless something comes along which is even more superior than cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin and knocks it off its peg. We'll see. In the next video, we're going to look at Peter Schiff's third and final concern, as I understand it, about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, which is alternate coins or competitive cryptocurrencies. We'll take a look at that and see where he stands.